going on, guys? In this video I want to talk about depth of field, and it is absolutely essential for us to understand this concept because depth of field is related to every single picture that you take. Whether you're taking a portrait where you want everything in the background to be out of focus, super blurry, this is called shallow depth of field, or whether you're taking a couple shot or a group shot where you want a lot of sharpness, where you have your subject is in focus, and perhaps your background as well if you're going for texture. Some people just love super blurry background and they say, can I do this with group shots? And with depth of field, with different combinations of depth of field, you can manipulate that, whether you're photographing 4 people, 6 people with blurry background, or just 2 people, or 1 person. You can achieve all this by manipulating few things, aperture, zoom, and it will give you these results. Now essentially a couple of things will give you a similar result by doing different things. Why do we need to learn all of them? Well, if you're doing a group shot, let's say on a super cloudy day, can you use f7.1 when there's not a lot of light? No, you cannot. So in that case, you're gonna use something else to create that sharpness. So let's look at all these 4 things, and you can combine them to basically achieve the desired look you want. Alright, so I'm going to start off with distance. Now I've gone over some of these things in my previous video. I just want to go over it one more time and with little in more detail basically. So if you are going to be close to your subject, your background is going to be very blurry. So if you are doing solo portraits, or let's say macro photography even, why is the background so blurry when you do macro photography? One is because of the lens, but the other thing is because you're so physically close to your subject that everything else in the background that is on a different focus plane is going to be super blurry. So if you want to create more sharpness, what I like to do is I like to take a couple of steps back, and that will give you greater depth of field. Okay, right now you see in this picture you see no definition here in your background. This is a tree, but as I step back, you're gonna see much like greater sharpness in this, and as I go further back, you'll see even more sharpness in the picture. So in a case like on a super cloudy day, let's say you're doing a group shot and there's not a lot of light, you can't use f5.6 or f6.3. Step back, and this will give you greater depth of field automatically. Alright, take a look at this picture. Everyone is in sharp. It's a group photo. Everyone is in sharp focus. You would think this picture was taken at, I don't know, f6.3, 7.1. No, it wasn't. It was taken at f3.5. How did I get? Well, my wife took this, but I set this up for her. How did she get the sharpness? Well, I told her to step back, and by creating that distance between yourself and the subject, you're gonna get sharper picture, and that's how everyone here is in focus. Okay, so that's one element of how you can control depth of field. Number 2, aperture. So this picture here was shot at f1.8. I'm sorry. Alright, so here you can see focus was on this baby here. Everything else in the background is blurry. Now what if you want this baby and this baby both in focus? Change your aperture. So here I went from 1.8 aperture to 5.6. I have this baby in focus, I have this baby in focus. However, look at my background. It goes from super blurry to now it has some definition. It is still blurry, but not as blurry. Okay, so can you do this in all your shoots? No. I was able to do this because there was enough light. That's why I was able to choose 5.6. But if there were not a lot of light, I will go back to the distance theory, which was, take a couple of steps back, and it will create sharpness. So what that is going to do in this scenario, if I were to go back, it will give me some, greater depth of field, but it's going to mess up my composition as I'm going to move back. All you have to do is just crop the extra room that you get, on each side. Is this the ideal way to do this? No. First, you want to increase your ISO so you can pick f5.6 or 6.3, depending on what you're photographing. But if your ISO is already too high, then you want to try your distance theory and see if that helps you. A couple of other pictures, f1.8, f5.6, and right away you'll see more sharpness. But again, all of this depends on how much light you have. In this, I had to use flash. This is f9. So, if you're not using flash, or your ISO is already too high, then I like to use, distance between myself and my subject to create that extra sharpness. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3 is zoom. Here you can see this is 35mm. There's a lot of stuff here is in focus, and you have greater depth of field, and the reason why is because it's wide angle. So as I zoom in, you're going to see my background is going to get blurrier. So if you're looking for super blurry background, you want to use a lot of zoom. Okay, and as I go further, as I further zoom, the background is completely gone. By the way, this is not how her hair was. It was actually raining that day, and it was pretty hot and humid. So within like half an hour, this happened. All right, if you're doing a real shoot, a model shoot or whatever shoot, obviously this is not acceptable. But for tutorials, obviously we couldn't do anything. So use zoom to basically blur your background. Okay, now you can also combine this zoom thing with your group shot. If you zoom and pick bigger aperture, you will get blurrier background, and you can still do a group shot if you are further away from your subject. Okay, so keep that in mind, that you can combine different things, like this group shot, big aperture, blur your background by using your zoom. Okay, let me see. Alright, distance between your subject and your background. So here you'll see this was shot at wide open, 1.8 aperture. Okay, you see definition in the background. Your background is not completely blurry. It's not silky smooth. And the reason why is because there's not a lot of distance between my subject and the background, the bricks. So next picture, exact same aperture, f1.8. But in this, my background is much blurrier, even though both pictures were shot at 1.8. And the reason why is because in this, there's not a lot of distance between my subject and my background, versus here, there's a lot of distance between my subject and the background. So that will also create a blurry picture. So add this to your group shot. People who want to do photograph 4 people, 6 people, but they also want group shot. I'm not saying shoot at 1.8, but if there's a good distance between your subject and your background, you're gonna get a much blurrier picture. Well, background wise, not your main subject. So combine these couple of things to achieve the type of look that you're looking for. All right. Similar picture in terms of your depth of field. Not a lot of distance between my subject and my background, so you're getting much sharpness. And I like these type of looks where you have a lot of texture in there. So you don't always have to go for super blurry backgrounds. Sometimes these type of pictures, they add a really nice texture, really nice look to your picture. So keep all these things in mind when you're photographing, you know, whether it's a solo shot or a group shot, because you know, everything depends on your style. You don't want every single picture to be super blurry in the background. So obviously this is going to take some time for you to, you know, really understand how, you know, each thing works and how you can combine them, but eventually you will get the hang of it. Okay, so pretty soon I'm going to do a tutorial on group shots photography, because that is related to your focus plane. um, you know, yeah, sure, you can easily create sharpness through distance, and you can blow out the background through zooming, but if your subject is not on the same focus plane, they're going to be blurry. So those are some of the things that we're going to discuss in our group shot tutorial. I'm not sure exactly how I'm gonna when I'm gonna do that, but you know, within a few weeks, definitely. All right, hope all is well, and I'll talk to you guys later.